Close your eyes and dream a dream. Perhaps it's the dream of being an astronaut, a prize-winning author, an artist with a gallery in Paris. To dream is a fundamental human right. It is a free territory with no barriers, no gravity. It is oxygen for the soul. Or is that only half the story? What if you were born in a place where the sky is obscured, where the gravity of poverty pulls you bound to the earth? In that case, is a big dream still a pair of wings that lifts you up? Or does it become a burden, a cruel reminder of the insurmountable distance between you and the stars? The forbidden question we so often avoid is, for the poor, is a big dream a form of medicine or a sweet poison? Think of a boy named Leo. Leo grew up in a crowded, low-income neighborhood, where the sounds of life were the hum of machinery, the shouts of street vendors, and his mother's sigh at the end of the month. But at night, Leo had a secret. He would read old science books. He dreamt of nebulae, of black holes, of becoming an astronomer. That dream was his real world. The neighborhood was just temporary. Everyone in the neighborhood liked Leo, but they also told him, "Be realistic, son. It's better to learn a trade like a mechanic or an electrician." Their advice wasn't cruel. It was wisdom, forged from their own stumbles. It was a pragmatic kind of love. Leo hated the word realistic. To him, it was a prison. His dream was a prison break. He studied day and night, believing that with extraordinary effort, he could break through the wall of his circumstances. And then he won a small scholarship to a university. But there, he discovered a different reality. His classmates weren't just smart, they had tutors, connections, internships abroad he could never have imagined. They dreamed of changing the world. His biggest dream each day was how to afford dinner and rent. His dream of the stars didn't die. It was simply enveloped by the fog of financial anxiety. It was no longer a source of inspiration. It became a source of shame and insecurity. The distance between his neighborhood and the cosmos seemed even vaster than he thought. Leo's struggle exposes an inequality deeper than money, the inequality of the right to dream. Psychologically, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs applied with brutal force. Maslow argued that humans can only pursue higher needs, like self-actualization, the stuff of big dreams, after their basic needs for safety, food, and shelter have been met. When you're worried about your next meal, your brain doesn't have much cognitive bandwidth left for distant galaxies. Economists like Sindel Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir call this the scarcity mindset. Poverty is not just a lack of money, it is a tax on the mind. It narrows your vision, forcing you to focus on immediate survival problems. It makes long-term dreams a psychological luxury. And, from a sociological perspective, the dreams of the rich and the poor serve different functions. For the privileged, a dream is a blueprint, a viable project. For the poor, it's often seen as a form of escapism, a fantasy. Society often applauds a rich child who wants to be an artist, but may criticize a poor child with the same dream for not knowing their place. At this point, a pessimistic conclusion seems unavoidable. The poor should not dream big. It only brings pain. It is better to have realistic, achievable dreams. But that is the logic of surrender, a logic that views dreams only through the lens of success and failure. Here is the twist. We have made the mistake of thinking that the only value of a dream lies in whether or not it comes true. What if the true function of a dream is not to get us to a future, but to help us survive the present? A dream, even if it is never realized, still performs a sacred role. It is a shelter for the soul. When reality becomes too harsh, the dream is the only room that doesn't leak, the only property that can't be foreclosed on. For Leo, the dream of the stars wasn't just about becoming an astronomer. It was an affirmation that he was bigger than his neighborhood, that his mind could travel farther than his circumstances allowed. It protected him from being defined entirely by his poverty. It kept his humanity intact. To kill the dream of a poor person because it is unrealistic is as cruel as walling up the only window in a prison cell just because the prisoner can't step through it. The value of the dream is not in the destination. It is in the light it lets in. Leo did not become a NASA astronomer. That gap was too wide. But he didn't give up on his dream either. He works a normal job to make a living, and in the evenings, he uses what little money he has to build small telescopes. He teaches the neighborhood kids about the constellations. He couldn't fly to the stars, so he brought the stars to his neighborhood. The dream didn't help him escape poverty, but it turned him into a source of light in the darkest of places. We have been asking the wrong question about rights. The issue is not whether the poor have the right to dream. The issue is, what right do we have to extinguish it? Perhaps the question isn't, should the poor dream big, but, without big dreams, what keeps their souls from drowning in the reality of the small? Each of us has unrealistic dreams. Dreams we keep for ourselves, not because we believe we will achieve them, but because we need them to survive. My question for you today is, what is the dream you are nurturing, not because it will bring you money or fame, but simply because it makes your soul feel larger? Learning an ancient language? Writing a novel no one will ever read? Mastering a complex recipe? Learning about a lost civilization? Share your shelter dream, because that is where our humanity is kept safe from the judgment of reality.